I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Titus, chapter 3, so let's focus on verses 8 through 11. I want you to insist on these things, so that those who have believed in God might be careful to devote themselves to good works. And these are good and profitable for everyone, but avoid foolish debates and genealogies and quarrels and disputes over the law, for they are unprofitable and worthless. Reject a divisive person after a first and a second warning, knowing that such a person is perverted and sins, being self-condemned. Titus chapter 3, verses 8 through 11. Much of my early believer experience revolved around avoidance. And by avoidance, what I mean is that all of my energy was focused on not sinning. I didn't fully understand God's grace, and so I thought that He was always keeping score with me, and somehow I might lose my salvation. Of course, that's not true. And all I could think about in those early days was how my sin was displeasing to God, and then it was somehow storing up some kind of punishment. And I became disenchanted as a young believer, and I wondered about that abundant life that every believer seemed to be talking about when they were sharing the gospel with me. Didn't feel very abundant at that time. And you must ask, what's wrong with not sinning? Nothing at all. But see, my problem was not that I didn't want to sin. It was that I considered not sinning as the ultimate goal of a Christian. And it took a while before I learned that morality was not the goal of my faith. It was simply a byproduct of it. I shouldn't have to focus the majority of my energy and attention on avoiding sin if Jesus has truly given me the power to live abundantly. Because after a Christian friend had shared this idea with me, my efforts began to shift from not offending God by avoiding sin to pleasing God for doing good. And by focusing my energy on pleasing God instead of avoiding sin, well, then I worried less about offending the Lord. I just wanted to please Him because I love Him and I know that He loves me. And from this vantage point, we naturally avoid sin. Plus, we also avoid the guilt. Perhaps this all sounds like, semantics. It's just wordplay, but these are totally different mindsets. And in today's passage, Paul instructs Titus that those who have believed in God should be careful to devote themselves to good works. More than simply avoiding sin, we have to discipline ourselves to replace sinful behavior with that which honors God and reflects our inner transformation. You see, our behavior is always the outworking of an inner heart condition. It is the same with properly motivated good works. If we have been truly transformed by Jesus, then our desire to please Him should override our fear of offending Him. In sports, there is a saying, the best defense is a good offense. And people with an avoidance or spiritually defensive mindset are generally legalistic and judgmental, not only toward themselves, but toward anyone who doesn't adhere to their legalism. They love to draw others into lengthy debates concerning the rules of avoidance. And Paul instructs that we should avoid, if you want to get into avoidance, avoid those people. Avoid such debates on avoidance. You see, the best way to refute false religion is to know the Bible and to live within the parameters that God has set up. Do not add to or take away from His requirements or His freedom. Put simply, a God-honoring life is the best apologetic for which we need not apologize. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.